bring the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So then you want to add Article 21.
Yeah, committee and board reports, directors. Do that if I need.
Any other changes to the agenda? Approval?
Second.
All in favor? Public comment, any non-agenda items?
I just have a question on item number 7, will the public be able to comment before the board votes on that?
Yeah, definitely. Other non-agenda items? Seeing none, approval of the minutes. March 14th.
Motion we approve the good.
Second. Second, all in favor? Committee reports, budget board. That is tomorrow night?
Yes, tomorrow night, as you know, Mr. Chairman, it will be the opportunity of the Board of Selectmen and the Budget Board to wrap up and finalize their budgets that evening, in order to be prepared for the public hearing that will be held later. So I will have all the department heads there, so if there are any specific questions that need to be asked or answered, hopefully we'll have the answers for you tomorrow night.
And that's here at 7 o'clock.
Yes.
Special state election, that's tomorrow as well.
8 in the morning.
At the fire
to 8
station,
at
right?
the fire
8 to 8?
station.
Article 21 budget. Public forum is being held April 4th, 7 PM. Now, where is that? Anybody know?
Okay, yes.
At the regular school board meeting.
No,
It's the same
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
as the
Yeah.
school board meeting.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
didn't have it on the calendar as far as the location. I imagine it would be
It
Katie.
is.
Room A102, you think? That's where the
Yeah,
school
probably
board
be in the gym, I would imagine it'd be in the gym.
It'll be at the KS gym.
Yeah.
Mr. DuBois.
All right, so the school board meeting of March 21st, a bunch of items here. Consent agenda items, the board voted to call a budget referendum and approval of the ballot, the retirement of Kennebunk High School nurse Christine Guerin, resignation of Kennebunk High School English teacher Molly Pierce, resignations of Prudence Todd third grade elementary teacher at Kennebunk Elementary School, the approval of 2 $2,500 scholarships for the class of 2016, and a cooperative agreement for the Technical Advisory Committee for the Sanford Regional Technical Center. The next item was the Finance Committee budget presentation. They gave, Matt Fetterman gave a huge overview of the budget, and I won't go over everything, but just a couple of bullet items that I took from that was, remember this is just the first reading, but the tax dollars that, the tax effect it's going to have on us for Arundel is 3.81%, Kennebunk is 3.46%, and the Port is 7.53%. And again, a majority of that is the school capital programs. So that's, for us, it's $57 per 100K. For Kennebunk, it's $53 per 100K, and for Kennebunkport, it's $58 per 100K. They talked a little bit about busing. They did pull out $35,000 for TA of the high school kids, but TA is bringing that to their board of trustees to pick up the tab. There's no definite on that yet, but they're discussing that. They left, for the time being, they left $180,000 in the budget. That is for the busing of the TAMS folks. However, there is talk from some of the board members of pulling that out. Really what they're doing is they're waiting to see what's going to happen on the 4-6 vote for changing of the school times. If they change, Biddeford and Saco changes the school time, that throws quite a wrinkle into everything. So they're trying to wait for that, see what happens with that, and then they'll reconvene and kind of make their decisions going forth on that. Again, the TAMS busing, they're in talks with TA on that. Some of the approval policy changes that they did. The one on transportation, they voted to remove the statement on the 15 quantity. So, that's basically out now, so that allows them to not pay for any busing for TA. Then they had second reading also on the admission of homeless students. First readings for substance abuse and admission of resident students. For human resources, there's an ongoing discussion on their custodial and tech contracts. Master facilities, you all know we had the groundbreaking here. The groundbreaking went very well. High school and KCS, things are moving very well for that aspect of it. For the strategic plan, they're working on a plan. They're going to each building to present their plans, and if anybody wants to look at the draft of their plan, they can go on the website and view that. I think that's pretty much it. We adjourned at 10:10 p.m. I don't know, Velma, if there's anything that I missed or
No,
you can add.
I knew you were making notes, so I did.
I didn't catch everything, but there's a lot going on, so that's just good.
Good hand. Mr. Manager.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a couple items under my report. I just wanted to report back to you that I reached out to the Department of Agriculture and Matt Randall, seeing that the springtime is quickly approaching. Before you know it, we're going to have the farms in the area land spreading again, and I just wanted to caution them that we're concerned about the land spreading and the smell that came as a result of some of the land spreading we had last year. I wanted to make sure that they're aware of our position, that we're concerned about it, and that they're making efforts to perhaps speak with the farmers to ensure that the proper methods are being used for spreading and so on and so forth. So they've reached back and said that they've been in contact with the farm, are hoping to work with them to ensure that that doesn't happen. I just told them that if we begin to get the calls that we experienced last year, that we'll certainly be sending them along to them, because I think there's plenty of time, and there has been plenty of time to address that issue, and hopefully they're addressing it appropriately. So, other than that, we have the town report that's quickly starting to come together. Town clerk has put out a list of when the reports from each respective board needs to be in. The deadline is April 15th. And the reason I bring it up, I'm staring at the chairman, because generally the chairman of each respective board is responsible for that, and I'm not quite sure how it has been done in the past year. I've worked for...
Yeah, each chairman is right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my expectations that you will wrap up the...
April 15th, right?
Not
My daughter should have it done by then.
not at midnight at night. That's all I have on the management report right now.
Thank you.
excuse me, along those lines, if anybody has any ideas or suggestions for cover photos, or cover, you know, for the town board book, appreciate any ideas or suggestions.
I'd like to take a picture up front right now, it looks pretty. Yeah, messy out there.
I'm thinking on top of the hill there, for Kate's Meadow looking out, that's a nice view.
Old business, petition for withdrawal from March 21 secret ballot, question and date of voting to take place.
Yes, at your last meeting, you had two things that were really remaining. You needed to develop a warrant for a secret ballot vote, and you needed to provide in that warrant a cost estimate as to what you felt it was going to cost if in fact that that vote is approved. And then you have to establish a date. On both those issues, I have provided in your packet my thoughts relative to that, and I can explain a little bit of them. What I did was, we had some discussions on whether or not the $35,000 that had been used in the past was enough funding in order to cover whatever efforts the withdrawal committee would have to undertake in terms of development of an agreement that goes to the Department of Education to get approved, and or the dollars that are associated with that, as well as whatever legal framework that agreement needs to be in, as the Commissioner of Education, I think, looks at it and makes a decision whether it's appropriate. What I did is I went back and looked at the expenses of the town the previous time. You had $35,000 there. You spent just over $28,000 to complete that task at your last effort. So I had that information. I reached out to the Department of Education. They did not have a recommended amount. They indicated to me that a variety of communities have used anywhere from $0 up to $50,000. So in my view, and I thought that the 35 that was there previous, based on the 28 that you spent, was a reasonable number to place in there for whatever efforts you had. That's how I came up with that recommendation to you. So you'll have to make a decision on that. The other thing is timing. When will the secret ballot question be voted upon? And my recommendation to you was to delay that vote until your annual town meeting, the June, I think it's the June 14th ballot voting, which will also take place. That will be the ballot voting for the school budget, as well as you would vote on this warrant article at the same time. So in my view, you would have enough folks to have enough population that will come and vote to hopefully get a cross-section of the community's intent on that. The other thing was that the town clerk, because it's secret ballot, needs 45 days to prepare that. So once you factor in the 45 days, we were about 18 to 20 days, I think, away from the annual town meeting. That's why I recommended the annual town meeting. Again, it's purely up to you folks, but we felt that would give us enough time to get absentee ballots. We can put it on the public, when we're doing a public hearing on the budget as a whole, we can have this on there as well as a discussion point, and we can inform the public a little more about what is happening, and then they can vote on it on the 14th. So those are the recommendations and the information I provided to you, and we need some action by the board this evening, what you wish to do.
When is the town meeting? 15th?
The 14th is the voting, 14th and the meeting itself will be the 15th. And it's also a state primary that day. So we'll have the primary, we would have the school budget vote, and we would have municipal officers, and then this would be an addition.
15th, Simone?
14th.
15th is our town meeting.
Town meeting.
Wednesday,
So the 28 grand we spent was for legal and for planning decisions?
Yes. Yeah, that was the entire
Okay.
amount.
So we now, do we need a response from the commissioner?
Not
Saying
right-
that we are
Not right now.
putting forward 35,000, or whatever we vote on?
We vote on that, the town will vote on whether or not they want to move forward with the petition and allocate that money, and then the process begins. If it's an approval, then the town, the municipal officials will have to appoint 4 people. Some are distinct who have to serve. They'll be put onto the committee. The committee then has, if I read the law correctly, 90 days to prepare an agreement that then gets forwarded to the Commissioner of Education, who reviews your agreement to determine whether or not it's sound. And then at a later date, and I don't remember all the numbers, at a later date, there will be a vote on the actual withdrawal.
So, I make a motion that we allocate $35,000 and we schedule this for a meeting on June 14th.
Do you have to say where? I don't think you need it in the article, but you need to designate where you're gonna take the 35,000.
It's in the
It's
article.
it's in the article. I recommended taking it from fund balance, as they did in the past.
I'll second that motion.
No discussion on this?
We have to hold a public hearing on this.
You will, because any secret ballot vote, you have to have a public hearing anyways, because open town meeting, opportunity for question and answer, secret ballot there isn't, so you would have to, any secret ballot, public hearing.
So we'll probably have a public hearing sometime in either April or May.
My thought would be to combine that public hearing with your, with whatever discussion may be on the budget at the same time, yeah. To wrap it all together, so you get as many people out to ask questions about the budget as well as it is preparing, so.
Motion's been made, seconded for 35,000.
Are you gonna take any discussion from the audience before you make the vote?
Motion not only 35,000, it's also to set the date. in case,
Those don't have to be two separate?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, you wanted to comment, correct?
Yes, I did. If I could, I would like to respectfully request that the dollar amount be increased to 40,000 for the following reasons. This is if the motion, if the warrant passes, this is an extremely important decision, and that there will be another vote based on the results of the withdrawal committee. And so there are 2 parts to that. There's a study of all the operational and financial considerations, and there also is negotiation and drafting of an agreement with the regional school unit. So as a taxpayer, I want to make sure that it's the best possible process to get there. Last time, the town approved 35,000 and only spent 28,000. That's wonderful. It also shows precedent that the dollar amount isn't what's required to be spent, it's a cap on it. I don't want personally, I don't think it's prudent to have an artificially low cap, a situation where maybe the best qualified firm or the best qualified study firm or the best qualified lawyer doesn't want to do the business because we set the dollar amount too low, or for some reason run out of money. What are the differences between now and 2012? One of the biggest ones is the bond issue that the rural school unit issued, partly on behalf of Arundel for improvements to the school, that complicates the cost allocation significantly, how that's going to be handled. Versus 2012, when, as far as I can tell, there wasn't any overlapping debt between Arundel and the other members of the RSU. The RSU's also invested a significant amount of cash. I believe it's over $1 million, possibly as much as $3 million, in this school for the benefit of Arundel students. There has to be some consideration for that in the separation agreement. And regardless of all of that, we haven't gone through an RFP process to determine what the dollar amount should be in this process. Now, I understand that the board voted to go forward with the petition. They had accepted the petition even though there wasn't a dollar amount in it. It's my understanding that there's at least a difference of opinion of legal minds as to whether that dollar amount should have been in the petition or not. And so, let me reiterate, would like the process to cost as little as possible to taxpayers, but I think the results of the process are so important for the long term of the town, both from education quality and from what my taxes are going to be going forward, that I don't know why it wouldn't be prudent to allow a bigger cushion for possible expenditure. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from the public?
Costas Ballymills.
I'm sorry, yeah?
Costas Ballymills. I agree that we have to get all the numbers, but I also just think it's a shame that every 2 or 3 years on the same subject, on a town that we keep being told is a poor little farm town, and we keep spending this kind of money over and over again on a regular basis. So that's what I have to say.
If you don't spend the money, and say you put, and I'd even like to put a bigger cushion, but if you don't spend the money during that process, it would just go back into the undesignated funds. So I would actually up it to 50, and the reason being, last time we spent that money, there was a lot of talk in the town that it was not accurate, or they didn't think the numbers were right. So possibly, a different firm, or I don't know what the charge is when you put it out to bid. If it needs to be more detailed this time, so that some in town aren't feeling like it was a full study or the numbers were flawed.
Diane, you had your hand up.
I don't have a preference as to how much. But I think that there have been some very good points, and that is that this is going to be a far more complicated process than what we went through it the last time. There was some debt the last time, but the debt was much, much smaller. And one thing that hasn't been stated is that you can allocate 45,000. It doesn't mean we have to spend it, and I would expect that you guys would monitor that like you would any other spending, so that it doesn't become a free-for-all. But on the other hand, if you find that it's not enough at 35, you have to take it back to town meeting to allocate additional funds. So it's something that you want to be very cautious, in that you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you end up with not enough, because you have to take it to town meeting in order to get additional funds. You can't just allocate additional funds. I believe it has to go through the whole town meeting and the whole process to allocate additional funds.
You said what I was trying to say
Yeah.
better.
My name's Michelle Levy. Just another point I'd like to make is that there have been a lot of towns that have withdrawn since we tried to do it the last time. I think there was 25 now, and there's 4 more in the withdrawal process. So there's a lot more information, and PDI has done a lot more reports, and there have been towns that have these similar bond issues and capital projects that they had to negotiate. So I just want to throw that, there's a lot more knowledge out there than there was when we first started doing this.
Anything else before?
Jason? I think I agree with both Diane and Dot. I would rather put a bigger number in here to make sure that we have enough than have to go back to another town meeting. So I would almost take Dot's suggestion of 50, we have that undesignated, and have it in there just in case. Because we'd be well covered, or we should be well covered.
And if I could make, and I don't want to override what the town manager or anybody else would do, but having been through this the first time and seen what happened the first time, I don't think even those of us that were on the committee knew how much had been spent or where it was going. There was really no, I think someone was keeping track of it, but we weren't kept aware of where things were. And I think that it would behoove to have a process that if there needs to be expenditures, that this process should be followed, and that there should be like, almost like a financial report gone back to the committee as they meet to ensure that they know where they're at as well, so that there can be kind of checks and balances, you know, make sure that they're staying within the boundaries, but also making sure that everybody knows that there's a process for an expenditure. Because just because you have a committee and just because you're doing the process, doesn't mean you can just go out and ask for things to be done without knowing what the implications financially are. I don't think we did that, but I'm just concerned
Well, I
that
mean,
the next
it's
group.
right there, I mean, I saw them, but, you know, we had some idea, because we had quotes
Right,
from planning decisions, and we had hourly rates from Eaton Peabody at the time, so we had some idea.
right, but as we went through the legal process, we didn't know how much these bills were or things like that, and so, you know, I knew we hadn't used all the money,
Right.
but even I didn't know we were using it up, so.
Maybe Diane didn't know where they ended up, but certainly our financial folks know.
Yeah, I mean, we,
Exactly, yeah.
I saw the bills.
When you go for an RFQ, you pick, and it's, you know, they come back with a quote of, hey, they'll charge us 30,000, and that's all they can charge.
No, and I wasn't trying to imply that nobody knew. What I was saying is that I would like to see a little more communication between the financial piece and the negotiation piece, or the committee that's working on it, so they know where they stand and they know how much has been used or expended. It's one thing to do the big chunk, which is your survey and, you know, the studies and stuff like that. But there's legal fees and mailings and all this other stuff that go with it as well. And, you know, I think it's nice to know, you know, how much one of those would cost if you want to have one, the process of doing it, and to just have a keeping of it. And I wasn't trying to imply at all that people didn't know how much was spent. I'm just saying that when we sat on the committee, to be quite honest, when I sat on that committee, the last thing I really worried about was the financial piece, but to be quite honest, we need to know about it, or anybody that sits on it needs to know about it. Not that they're gonna drive it or keep track of it. I just think it's a good communication tool between the person who's keeping track of it and the committee themselves, so that they know where they stand.
It's not a bad thought, but I was just gonna say what you said, I would not want the dollars and cents to
No.
influence
No.
the time it takes,
No.
the advice we have to get, all that type of stuff. We
No.
can't
Which
do
is
that.
exactly why
No, and I would
But
never.
I agree with you,
never
it wouldn't be a
imply
bad
that.
idea to know where we
Yeah,
where
I
we
would
are.
never imply that, but I think, you know, if you wanna do a mailing, you know, we just said we wanna do a mailing, you know. To be quite honest with you, how much it was gonna cost, but they might wanna know. Cause one's not gonna be like the last one. The last one was a lot simpler. I think this one's gonna be a lot more complicated.
Well, having said that, though, we've been through the process, so we have some idea how it works this time. We spent a lot of time in the initial stages of this thing, because we were one of the first ones doing it at that point in time. Driving this wheel and kind of driving it blind at that point in time. So we've got some understanding of it, so and my hope is, with that, we're not gonna spend as much
I hope
money, but we'll see.
Dan first and then Jen.
So, I looked at Tom, I know that early on we had some discussions and you had thought that the 35K now was probably not gonna be enough. I don't have a problem with upping it if the board feels so. I certainly think that 50 is way out of it's too high, but, based on the information that was shared with us with the 28K, do you still feel that 35 is enough, or do you think we should bump it?
I said, I don't know what the RFP is gonna look like, but, across the board, I know hourly rates for people in my profession have risen dramatically, and I don't have no idea what the consultants at this point in time are charging.
probably likewise since they're.
I would
in hot
assume,
demand.
nobody stays flat.
No, and they're in hot demand right now because there are so many
So
withdrawals
It may
happening.
be that the numbers are higher, I don't, it's hard to say. But,
Well, we hurt them one there.
Jen Burrows, I agree with what's being said here, but like Michelle stated earlier, this is something that is happening and recurring, and there's more information that when we went in blind. I feel that we have to think of things as a full town though in nature. For us just to sit here and throw numbers around, it's tax dollars that we're using here, and I just think if we were able to do it at a level, and yes, it was antiquated and it was years ago and time has gone up, but we have more information, more knowledge that we should be able to get access to quite easily and not need to spend the excessive amount in legal help. I'd like to see that level keep at a lower.
I don't know how your constitution and bylaws are set out, but can a motion be made to up this dollar figure from $35,000 to $50,000?
Sure.
I'll make a motion to.
No.
You
Please
can't,
report.
the selectmen have to do it.
All right,
You can make a suggestion.
I suggest that one of you
I can
guys make a
rescind my
motion.
Or amend my motion.
Understand that when I say that they might want to allocate more, I am not advocating for spending it. The reason for doing that is because of the stipulations in the state withdrawal law that requires that if you need additional funding, the only way to get that additional funding is to have another town meeting. And a town meeting is an expense, and you have to wait to be able to do one. So you have to have X number of days, you have to be able to do ballots, and you have to have more staff.
You
to
can do that in open town.
You
You
can
don't
do
have to
it.
do a secret ballot.
Okay, so you can do it, but you still have to schedule a town meeting, so you'd still have to wait for it, so you'd still have to have.
But you wouldn't have to have a secret ballot, that's all.
Okay, but you'd have to have X number of days from the time you determined it to the time you could have a town meeting, right?
7 days.
Is it 7 days? Okay.
But it's cost money.
It does cost money.
But if I could add one other thing, which is that this dollar amount in the warrant is what people are going to be voting on in town meeting. And it's an up to, not to exceed number. Everybody's in agreement that we don't want to spend $1 more than we have to. But if the town votes on $35,000 number, and it turns out that the RFP goes out, bids come back, lawyers look at it, and it's gonna cost $38,000 to get it done right, and you have to go back to town meeting, are you gonna have, let me put it this way, they're gonna be, I think there will be more people voting on the initial time than on adding on to it, and is it really fair to have people vote on $1 amount when we literally don't know. We don't know what, we haven't done an RFP, so we don't know what the number ought to be.
I will amend.
It should be 50.
I I will amend my motion to, $42,000.
Forty-two.
Sure.
I think he's trying to go halfway.
It's 27,
Still $7,000 more, you know. My point is, yeah, I mean, there's some good arguments, but there's a lot of not history, but there's a lot of data that's already out there that shows that a bunch of these towns have already, you know, they've spent $25,000, $28,000, $30,000. You know, I haven't seen anything, any data, or nobody's presented any data that says some of these towns have spent over $40,000. Granted, you know, we wanna make sure that we do this right, but, I mean, that's my number, so I mean,
Well, I think Keith said the information he got from the Department of Education said everything from 0 to 50.
Right, yeah, yeah, they ran the gamut from 0 to 50,000 of what they had observed.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what those actual costs were, but that's what they were putting aside.
That's what they were designating in the article.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's all, you have no idea what people have spent.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
All we know is what we spent.
all right, I'll go for it.
Okay, so you're making a motion for how much?
I'll go 45.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
I think it's,
All those in favor, 45,000? Yay. Moving on, new business. Liquor license renewal, DBA Coffee Breakers Inc. Season Center.
Just take a step back, we're clear too, now we got that date set of,
that was in the first motion.
first motion.
Yeah.
To hold it down June
Okay, you just amended your amount.
Yeah. Let's go get supper now. He does it the same, change it all.
Go get supper now.
So it looks like this is just a straightforward renewal, right?
It is a renewal.
Change.
Make a motion we approve?
I'll second.
Second, any more discussion on this? Same owner, same everything?
Everything's still the same.
All in
And
favor?
it's for just malt and, so beer and wine.
All in favor, renewal? Replacement of light pack 12, going to a 15.
Right, Mr. Chairman, I have the fire chief and the fire chief team in my office to talk about the importance of upgrading the existing life pack 12 that we have on the ambulance unit to a life pack 15. Part of the process, and I believe I provided a memo to you all about the 12 to the 15, so I understand the leads, the battery, the support in the ambulance are all the same. The difference here is that the 15 is able to provide, it's still user-friendly, it provides a little more ability to monitor. And at this juncture, from what I understand, we are the last community within our neighboring communities that we have mutual aid with that have a Life Pack 12. Because of the lateness of the request, they sort of convinced me that it's a doable thing, but because of the lateness of the request, my recommendation was to remove the money from the capital reserve equipment fund that's established for the fire department for the purchase of this unit. They've provided you a cost based on the estimate that they received of the unit, which would be, excuse me for a moment,
2881.
which would be, the total grand total would be 28,821.82 for the unit. My recommendation is, if in fact you feel it's a wise move, would be to take that money from the capital reserve fund for that purpose. There's $37,000 remaining in the refund. At the end of this year, when we go back to the annual town meeting, we'll be requesting another 50,000 to be put in there, so we certainly have the money, and we're certainly looking towards the future for any further purchases.
Is that $185 simply shipping and handling because it says tax and shipping and handling?
$185, is that within the quote?
Yeah.
Yes, it says tax and shipping and handling. I want to just assume that's just up above, it just says it's shipping and handling.
Right, we'll get, I believe it's just shipping and handling. We
Yeah,
don't-
the second
we're
one
tax
down from the
exempt.
top says shipping and handling, no estimated tax.
Right.
What's the wish of the board?
Need this?
Gives me one more view of your heart.
Yeah.
I can look at your heart from the back. Helps on heart attacks. Helps on strokes.
So far, it sounded pretty good.
Yeah.
Where does my Pac-12 go?
Where does it? Looks like it's being traded in.
Right, we get a $4,500 trade-in value for the 12.
And the 12 is no longer in use.
And at this point, from what I understand, they're not making any parts anymore, so we're at the end of that life cycle for that equipment.
We bought that one secondhand anyway. I like
yeah.
Pac-12, we bought a used unit. That was kind of like a last minute deal, if you remember correctly.
And this is a new one?
Yes.
Have we explored a used like Pac 15?
No. Not according to the department, this is their proposal.
What's the warranty on this one? It's different from a used one. How long did we have the 12, Jason?
I'd be willing to bet we're going on 7 or 8 years now.
Do you know what the warranty is
I'm
on
looking where it doesn't, where it
I
isn't.
don't see anything. I bet it's like a 3-year.
That warranty, but it doesn't say what.
Can you give me an estimate of how long 15 will last before they change again?
There's really no, like, countrywide, there's nothing above the 15 right now. Like, there's no 18, or there's no 21, or,
Somebody, anything in the offing that you're aware of?
Not
Nothing that I'm
not
reading.
I was told,
Okay.
because that was one of the questions I asked as well.
I'll move to approve the acquisition of Life Pack 15 for the amount of 48,000,
28,
28,480.
821.82.
There you have it.
I'll second.
any more discussion? I'm gonna abstain from the vote, so
Substantive issues.
all those in favor of 15?
Would that to come from their
Capital reserve,
capital reserve
Fund.
account?
Didn't vote.
Moving on. County Budget Committee. April 15th.
yes, find the rest of my stuff. The county budget committee will be caucusing on Wednesday, April 13th at 6:30 PM at the York County Government Building on Jordan Spring Road in Elford. The reason I'm bringing it up is that we have a resident who is elected to our budget board,
Yeah.
and who is showing an interest to serve District 2, that is Jack Reed's. For him, in order to get elected, he needs to be recognized by an elected official from the town. So we need one of you to attend that meeting so we can have him considered for the position. So is that, generally, I guess the chairman is dying?
Last year, 2 or 3 of us went.
Oh, okay.
Need more, Jack,
I thought it was another area,
I didn't go last year for some reason. I couldn't
but it
make
seemed to be that it was like the towns that had multiple people, where we only have one, I don't know if, you got some input?
Well, in a week moment, I volunteered for the county budget committee.
one in a long line of weak moments, yeah. Keep them
Long-
coming.
long line. You're right. At any rate, the caucus is the means of electing people, and you need elected officials there, preferably more than one. And I would very much appreciate at least 2 people coming out with me. And I also need your signatures on our Arundel Budget Board, so that I can get elected here, so I can become official there. And I have the petition handy after the end of the meeting.
A 3-year term, Jack?
Pardon?
Is it a 3-year term this time?
Yes, both are.
Who was there last year? Jack, that nominated you, remember?
Jason and I were there.
Yes, 2 of you went out, I've forgotten who, as my memory's headed downhill.
Jason and I were
Just
there.
trying to keep it exercise
Bit of
apparently, if I guess.
Biddeford had one person that wanted to be elected for a 3-year term. They had the entire council there.
Wow. Somebody brought dinner.
They did.
And he wasn't there.
He wasn't.
He never attended a meeting.
No.
Really?
The gentleman from Biddeford,
That had all that support.
Never
Yeah,
attended a
they had
meeting all year.
all 5 councilmen there, they elected him, and he never attended a single meeting.
Wow.
But he's promised to this year, I'm told.
So unless I hear any strong objections, I would expect the whole board to be there,
Yeah.
rallying behind Jack.
If I remember
But
correctly.
again, I'll be there.
Okay.
Just remind us.
Is it 7 time?
It is,
It says
I just read it.
I know it was on the same night as one of our meetings, and we had.
I believe it was 6:30.
April 13th.
6:30.
6:30.
6:30.
Wednesday, April 13th.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, crazy old man.
He should live somewhere.
Your memory should be real good in 3 years,
Payroll and payables, moving
So
down the
moved.
table.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Any other business? Did you guys all receive that letter from, Kelsey County?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something you guys want to talk about prior to budget tomorrow night. They're looking to keep that substation open. Did he come to you?
Never received it.
I don't remember that, but that doesn't affect our budget. This year's budget. Because even if they decide to keep it open, the chief doesn't have anything in there to bring it up with.
No, if you recall, my recommendation is that I could not find any documentation that moved the substation from the association to the town. You had town meeting approval, but the action was never taken. So my position was, and I expressed that to you, when we're done with it, and I told the association this as well, when we have completed use of it, then I'm gonna notify the association that the town is done with it. The association then has a responsibility, one way or the other, to relinquish their ownership of that. If they choose not to, then that's between the association and the property owner, and not the town. Because I can't find the document, so for me, it's an over.
But if they want to do any repairs, then it has to come to us to approve, because it's.
Unless they're using their own money to repair. They could use their own money to repair, they could come to you and see if you wish to fund some of that. I guess they could ask.
Yeah.
Those types of things could occur. But I did not receive any letter, so I don't know what you're referring
Sent
to.
yesterday. I sent last night, actually.
Can I ask one question on that? Is there even a volunteer fire person in the town of Arundel?
Yeah.
There is?
Yeah.
They don't get paid, they're not paid common? Does
No,
any-
no.
That's my question, so I'm gonna rephrase that. Is there a strictly volunteer fire person in the town of Arundel?
No.
Everybody gets police stipend,
Correct.
right?
There is an organization, the Arundel Volunteer Fire Department still exists.
Correct, but it's
And
different
they
than
have
actually
officers, and they have
Yep,
meetings, but,
I'm good, thank you.
do we have any equipment in that station?
We're pretty well done. I'm waiting for, I know the Public Works Department has completed their cleaning. I think the fire department still has some items that they need to remove. And then once I get the okay, then I will notify the association of our use of it is over with. Can I hold on to this?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
No, that's all right, I got it.
Okay.
Any other business? Seeing none, Mr. Dubois, if you would have us open.
Take a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Camera?
Rebel challenge. No.